we're a little late today. Okay, hello there. I'd like to call the August 1st, 2018 Board of Selectmen's meeting at 6:31. Town Manager, do we have any need for non-public?
Yes, for legal and personnel.
Next item on the agenda is the minutes of the 19th of July. Does anybody have any corrections, changes? 17. And we're going to do 17 first. Anybody have any questions?
Nope.
Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept? Moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item is the July 19th, 2018 public minutes. Does anybody have any corrections or changes?
Make a motion we accept.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All righty. They're moving on. We're going to open up some public hearings. The first public hearing is a Calvary Wolfeboro to hold a Wolfeboro Kids game on August 23rd, 2018 from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and August 24th, 2018 from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 43 Mill Street. Hi. Would you please state your name for the record?
Good evening. My name is Philip Marbury, here on behalf of Calvary Wolfeboro.
Okay, and this gives you an opportunity to just kind of tell the public about it. You're on television, and sort of give us a little bit of an idea about what you're going to do.
Absolutely. So we're here to do the second annual Wolfeboro Kids Games, and it's an event that we held for the first time last year. And it's a day and a half event that's really aimed and designed at allowing the children of the community of the area an opportunity to come to an event that is very intentionally designed just to be kind of over-the-top, exciting, and awesome experience for them. It's a free event. That's notable and important. Everything is absolutely free of charge, and it is a Thursday evening, which is kind of like the opening ceremonies where the kids are going to get assigned teams and coaches, and they're going to kind of get to know each other and do some activities that's going to break the ice and kind of get the process started. And then the next day, it's from 9 to 9 or 8 to 8. I think it's one of those two, but it's a 12-hour period on the following Friday, where again they're going to be doing obstacle courses that have been constructed. They're going to be doing really fun team events and group building activity all together. There's going to be competitive elements as well as just team working and kind of encouraging them to problem solve and tackle different problems and challenges that they'll face. They're going to get to a chance to create a big team chant, create a team flag, and just really have a wonderful time. And it is, again, it's an all-day event that culminates then that evening with a cookout, basically, at the church, where their entire family is invited. And again, this is absolutely free of charge, but their entire family is invited to kind of hear about what they did that day. We have the closing ceremonies where medals are awarded, and they just kind of get a quick recap of the events of the day. Last year, it was a spectacular event. The kids had an absolute blast. I don't think you could find anybody who went last year and wouldn't say just what a really great time it was. And so we're excited to be able to do it again. It's something we look forward to all year. We field a volunteer staff of, I want to say last year it was between 40 and 50 people just to man the event and make sure that it's something that the kids walk away with good memories from. So we're excited to do it again.
And do you have any minimum age? I mean, can a 3-year-old come, or where are you in age?
So we do unfortunately have to restrict it a little bit. We open it up from 1st to 6th grade.
Okay.
And then for practical reasons, younger than that can become a logistics issue. Mm-hmm. And then older than that, it's just really not what we're aiming for. We're aiming for those kids that are elementary school and just ready to come and run around and have a wonderful time. But yeah, it is 1st through 6th graders.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this public hearing? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any board members have any questions?
Yeah, I have a comment. Having once taught Sunday school at the First Congregational Church and having had probably 30 people attending my class, today about 1/5 1/5 that amount of kids who go. What are you doing to attract kids? You need to spread it around.
Absolutely, and this may be part of it, because again, this is not just for our church. This is not just for the children of our church, it's for the children of the community. And so we encourage and invite any families from other churches. If you're not in a church, that's totally fine too. It's really an opportunity for the kids to come. And I guess to answer that question outside of the kids' games, you know, our approach is that church and our faith should be an awesome opportunity. It should be something that kids look forward to. And so that's how we approach it in the church, is just that this should be something that the kids walk away with going, hey, Mom or Dad, let me tell you about what I got to do today.
How many parishioners do you have?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay, does any other members of the board have any questions? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
I move that we allow the Calvary Church Wolfeboro to hold its kids' game on August 23rd, 2018, from 5 to 9, and August 24th from 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Mill Street.
Okay, do I have a second to that?
Second?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You have your permit. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Wolfeboro Library Board of Trustees to hold an ice cream social on August 18th, 2018, from 10 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Wolfeboro Public Library. Hi.
I'm Cindy Scott. I'm the library director, and I'm here representing the Board of Trustees today. And we are planning an open house on Saturday, August 18th. The full open house is going to run from 10 until 3. The ice cream social, which we're going to do on the front lawn, it's free ice cream between 1 and 3 that afternoon. And we're going to have other events as well in the library, a craft, presentations by me about the library expansion and renovation project. We are also having representatives from the various boards there, and refreshments. So I hope you people will be able to attend.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak to this event? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, does anybody have any comments or questions?
I do.
Okay.
What kind of ice cream?
I believe it's vanilla and chocolate ice cream.
Not
two?
moose tracks.
Sorry?
Not moose tracks.
No, we're going with the straight basics.
Ah,
Will that do, Dave?
I think we ought to have more.
Are there any other
We don't want a
probably be
lot of
there anyway.
leftovers, so.
Are there any other important questions to ask? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the issuance of a temporary event to hold an ice cream social on August 18th, 2018, from 1 to 3 at the Wolfeboro Public Library, but with more than 2 kinds of ice cream.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you have your permit. I'll open up the next public hearing, and I'm going to read the notice. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 1st, 2018, at 6:35 p.m. at the Wolfeboro Town Hall, Grade Hall, 84 South Main Street, Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, to discuss the application of Camp Sunshine Beverage, Craft Beer, and Soap Company for a permit for the sale and consumption of beer at a beer festival on August 11th, 2018, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Abenaki Ski Lodge pursuant to the Town Code, Chapter 5, Alcohol Beverage. And this was a public notice, and if anybody with disabilities needed anything, they were to call Ann Marble at the town. And this was posted July 23rd, Public Library, Town Hall, and certified mail. So do I have anybody here to speak to this event? My understanding, Town Manager, that we had a call on this, and that I'm assuming it was Lisa Beveridge, went home sick, is unable to come to represent this public hearing tonight, and I want to know what the board would like to do. This is an event that it was held before at Abenaki Ski Lodge. From what I see in the package is complete, and so I'm looking to some kind of consensus from the board on whether we table this or we move on and grant the permit. The event is coming up before our next meeting.
Comment.
I will make a motion that we approve this for Abenaki Lodge.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Dave, you wanted to?
I was just going to make the same motion if someone else had, so.
Okay, so we're, got a motion, we're going to move on. Before that, I need to really, I hadn't finished opening it up to the public, and then I'll come back.
There you go.
I was just trying to get a consensus. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. I'll accept the motion in the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty. Moved on from there. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the bulk vote, and I would like to make a motion to remove F, which is the approval of the Josiah Brown scholarships, so we can announce those individuals. And
Is that a motion you made?
Yes.
I'll second that.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So the items remaining on the bulk vote is the weekly manifest of July 27th, an agreement between the Lakes Region Planning Commission and the town of Wolfeboro, New Hampshire for a natural hazard mitigation plan update assistance. And what that is for is to approve the town manager signing of the contract. We had already voted, I think it was in February, to use the Lake Region Planning Commission. And then there are two property tax credits and one intent to cut. Can I have a motion to accept the bulk vote?
I'll make a motion to accept the bulk vote of items A through E.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, next item will be to have our town manager tell us who has gotten the Josiah Brown Scholarship Awards.
There were 4 applications for the Josiah Brown Scholarship Assistance, and all were received by the applicable deadline. 3 of the applicants are continuing scholars who have received scholarship assistance in the past, and 1 is a new scholar. All the applicants appear to be maintaining good grades within the guidelines for the scholarship.
Okay? You want to read the names of the people?
Sure. So the Wolfeboro scholars recommended for award of the scholarship in the amount of $1,500 are as follow: Maria Hendrickson, Callista Jacobs, Seth Richardson, and our new scholar, Aubrey Shaw.
Thank you. Any board members, any discussion? Can I have a motion to grant those scholarships?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the only thing I would like to make a comment here, we only had 4 applicants last time. We've had 6 or 7, and I wonder whether we want to look at the criteria and see if maybe we want to change it in terms of the amount of assets the families may have. I don't know how the board feels about that.
Wonder if we should also,
What about awarding a certain amount, a higher amount, if you have fewer applicants? No applicant's going to be turned down, and the $1,500 isn't going to pay for anybody's full tuition.
I was going to say, maybe we should also check with the guidance department at the school and see how if they're continue to promote it the same as they have in the past? If something might have happened that a lot of kids don't know about it? I don't know. It might be worth asking a question.
Okay. Dave Zenikos, do you have any feeling on this? Paul?
I have no thoughts to offer.
Okay, so we'll check the guidance, and when we go to give out the January one, if we don't have an increase, we could look at awarding more. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
Yes.
I give you some direction on that? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Financial Director's Monthly Expenditure and Revenue Report. And I want to welcome Debbie Zabar. Is that my Zapkar. She is our new Financial Director, and this is her first report.
It is indeed. Good evening. Deb Zabkar, Finance Director. First, I'd like to take a minute to say how excited I am to be a part of the Wolfeboro team. It's been an outstanding experience already. I've been so fortunate to be able to have some time to sit with Pete Chamberlain, the outgoing Finance Director. What a wealth of knowledge he really is, and it's been a great help in the transition. And everybody at Town Hall has been so welcoming, so it's been really great. So that being said, I hope you had a chance to review the June report. So at this point in time, as of June, being halfway through the year, I would expect us to be at about 50% through the expenditure budget. The overall expended to date is roughly 48%, with the general fund being at about 47%, water being at 40%, electric being at 49%, sewer being at about 62%, and Pop Whalen being at about 56%. So there are a few pages attached to the report regarding individual department budgets that are running over that 50% mark, and I've put some comments in there about what I think is causing that. But overall, I think we're in pretty good shape, and I guess I'm open to questions. If you have any, I'll attempt to answer them.
Dave?
I have some questions in reference to highways and streets. In particular, vehicle maintenance. On page 2
Okay.
of the front pages. Vehicle maintenance is at 87%. That seems really high to me, even though we've had, the winter as part of that. And then also a maintenance supplies at 70%. And I understand the diesel and oil, but are we, for some reason, sending a lot of vehicles out for repairs that either the staff is not capable of fixing, or is that outside services? I didn't go back in and go through each line. So.
It's interesting you would mention that. We had a conversation today about Park and Rec's vehicles and the amount of work that needs to be done on it. I realize that this is highway, but I think maybe perhaps in non-public we should discuss that further.
Yeah, those numbers seem really high to me this time of year. Even though we've had the winter, we still have some winter coming in this year's budget, but 87% and 70%, and even the overtime budget at 82%. Those numbers all seem high to me when I look through them.
So that one storm that FEMA declared eligible for assistance cost over $25,000. So it truly was an unusual winter.
Mm-hmm. I'd still think that should be looked at.
And I think, Dave, I also see it in the Public Works garage when we look at machinery and equipment. That one's already, it's a $4,000 budget, and it's already over by $3,000 at this time in the year. So I think we've got a couple of things in there.
Yeah, we got some issues here, I think, someplace.
The other one that
I'd like to look at those.
Yeah, I think we definitely do. I think that's a good point. I think also we got to keep a close eye on our legal, which seems to be something we're going to have to figure out where we're going to get where we may need to make some cuts in order, in other budgets to cover some of that. Paul, do you have anything? Brad, do you have anything?
No.
Dave, do you have anything?
All set.
Thank you very much. It was a
you.
very good report.
But I would like to just make a comment that the team was in front of the Budget Commission the other day, and you know, the budget team tends to take these documents and look at individual line items, and I think Deb did a very, very good job answering kind of questions that were coming at her in rapid fire. So I congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the June report. This is July, and I had a conversation with the town manager, the finance director, and we are going to get the July report at the second meeting in July, or the first meeting second meeting in August. First meeting in September. I had okay. First meeting in September, we will get July, and then the second meeting will get August. We're catching up on that and give her some time to work those out.
We are a little bit shorthanded in the finance department right now, so it's understandable that there might be a little delay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Route 28 Corridor Preliminary Project Planning Report, and I think we have our town planner here to take us through this one.
Thank you. Matt Sullivan, Director of Planning and Development. I'm here this evening to review the revised Route 28 Committee report. Originally, this was presented to the Board of Selectmen on May 16th, 2018. And at that meeting, it was recommended to bring the report back to the steering committee for further consideration, to make some potential amendments, and then to present a revised report back to this board, hopefully for the endorsement of the selectmen. On May 31st, the Route 28 steering committee reconvened. We had an extensive discussion about the Pickering Corner intersection and the 3 design alternatives that we had considered for that. You may remember that as part of the prior report, the consensus was to not recommend one of those 3 options over another. However, there was some discussion about whether or not that was appropriate and really the best action of the town to take in the context of working with NHDOT. So, at that May 31st meeting, the group agreed to make some changes to the report. Those changes are presented to you in this draft report today. The substantive changes are really on page 7 of the report, and I wanted to quickly take an opportunity to review those with you. Those changes involve, again, that Pickering Corner intersection, and what the committee decided to do here is actually identify a preferred, an acceptable, and a not preferred option. And I won't go through the details of this decision, but what I will say is that the enhanced intersection design, what was referred to at the time as the no build, which is really an enhanced intersection, is the preferred option, subject to these 8 conditions that are presented here. The mini roundabout design is the acceptable option, but conditional upon access being maintained to the 2 existing businesses on the intersection. And the signalized intersection is not preferred, and this was the consensus decision of the steering committee. I want to note also at the bottom of that page that there is resolution of the town to work with NHDOT to consider implementation of the lower cost items, including signage, curb work, and striping that can be done in the interim until this project is scheduled in 2024. But really that page 7 work is the significant change to this report. I would also note on page 9, under the Kingswood Complex and Golf Course section, this is segment 3, there's some text in red there at the very bottom of the page that reads, the committee recommends a reduction of the speed limit in the corridor to 30 miles per hour at all times, and if the speed limit cannot be decreased, a crosswalk at the golf course is not recommended. This was another decision from the committee that was actually added to this amended report. With that, those are the few significant changes that I have. I'm hoping to get endorsement of this report this evening so we can pass this along to NHDOT for consideration. I'm also aware that at the last meeting, the Board of Selectmen were interested in drafting sort of a cover letter to this report as well. And obviously that's the purview of this board, but I did want to just make sure I emphasize that that was considered at the last meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you, Matt. I will go down with the different board members, and I'm going to start with you, Brad, because you had expressed some concerns about the options, and so I'm going to give you the opportunity first to make some comments, and then we'll go on down from there.
All right, yeah, thanks. I want to thank Matt and the committee for going back and doing what we asked them to take a stance on these. Still want to stay on record that my opinion that the mini roundabout would be the best solution to the problem there. I kind of look at it as safety being the number one concern for that intersection. I think the design standards of the roundabouts clearly show that the conflict areas between pedestrians and the cars is greatly reduced in a roundabout rather than any other type of intersection there. I don't think you're going to get any more of a backup there in the middle of summer when we have our backups between a roundabout and the enhanced intersection design. I do agree, I think the signal would be the not preferred one. I agree with number 3 completely, but my opinion would be number 2 and 1 would be reversed, in my opinion there. And also stating that, I like that comment in number 2 of the mini roundabout to ensure that the full use of protection. I got Brewster Academy there, but I thought it was also, the 2 gas stations that, I know that was the headache part of it, trying to keep access to them. So they felt they could keep a viable business going, which is completely understandable. But I think that could have been worked in to the roundabout. There are ways of the exits and entrances onto those to provide good access to properties there. So those would be my comments.
Okay, I'll go over here to Dave Bowers, and then I'll go to Dave Senecal and on down to Paul. So.
Well, my general comment is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this is for 150 years, the intersection. I've never heard of anybody getting killed there, and we all know about it. It's sort of a signature for Wolfeboro. If you had to do something, the state has investigated this many times. A mini roundabout would be better than tearing the whole place up and moving the gas stations. I would recommend not doing anything, just like with the Wesson's Auto Body. At one time in 1930s, they stationed a full-time police officer there, for example. But I think both of these intersections, people do go very carefully. In 40 years, I've never had any problem with Pickering Corner. And if I see a long line of cars, and I go down Union Street or something else, as most others do too, helping. So my recommendation would be not to do anything, but if you had to do something, if the board voted to do something, I would vote to have a mini roundabout or nothing. Those are my 2 options.
So you're not for the enhanced intersection with just making wider lanes? It's kind
No,
of
I think wider lanes are fine. No, I think wider lanes and stripe. You're talking about Middleton Road?
No, I'm talking about this recommendation is for Pickering Corner. And the first one says the preferred option is just enhanced. We're going to leave it exactly the way it is.
I would like that a lot,
Okay.
but not physical structures of rerouting the roads.
Okay,
I would
widening
I would
lanes.
call that not breaking it. It would just be adjusting it. Now, as some
Okay.
of you know, down in Chichester, they redid all the entry to the Chichester Road, and then they undid it. I don't know if you know about that or not, but I think if it could be restriped inexpensively and with lanes, try it out, and if it didn't work, the police department would certainly know. We could go back or have solution B. That would be the easiest thing to do, the cheapest and the least destructive to the town.
Okay. Dave Senecal.
Well, I think I've been in favor quite a long time for the enhanced intersection section, and I still am in favor of that. And that way we don't lose any parking spaces. With the mini roundabout, or even with the signal situation, we would lose parking spaces in that area. I think the total was about 13, if I remember right, if we do something different. So I'm in favor of the enhanced intersection. That way we don't lose the spaces, and we still get, as David said, that's been there for over 100 years, and it'll still work.
Paul.
I'm going to endorse this report. This is the longest committee that I sat on. I was part of this committee since, I think it goes back to, 10 or 11? A long time ago. For all of the reasons that Brad Harriman spoke to, I kind of come down there too. I think we could have a debate, but I always like to debate with facts, whether it is broken or it's not broken. All we know is that if you commute to work, sometimes during the day it's a mess. The mini roundabout was the least impactful from a other than the current option, which is just put paint and blacktop and fix sidewalks. But the second least impactful option was the mini roundabout, and I thought as I looked at it, it would help with traffic flow. I agree that it will create some discussions that we have to have about the gas stations and some other things. But you know, it's one of those, we fought hard for it. We had good conversations. I thought that the meetings were well mannered, and this is what the committee wanted, and I'll support that.
Yeah, I'm with Paul and Dave. And Dave, what I liked about this, we spent a lot of time talking about this and looking at the options. Definitely losing parking spaces was a big concern. The look and the change of the character of the town, and to me, especially since the Pickering House has been done, and that historic look. And there were two things that we did to try to address the safety, Brad, and one was to get them to bring the speed limit down to 20 miles an hour. We also had the concern about the students of Brewster coming across, and we're asking for a crosswalk from the Monument Field side over to Three Sisters, hoping to get them in walking in a crosswalk. And we all know how people use crosswalks. And the other thing is that we're looking at better lighting, and with the better lighting, to have that lighting fit into our town. So I'm comfortable. I think we talked about safety quite often on this, and I think by putting those crosswalks, lowering the speed limit, talking about lowering the speed limit all the way down on Route 28, even coming into that, I think will greatly help. So I am, as Paul is in support of this plan the way it is. And so the question becomes, do we write a cover letter? Do we accept the report as is on a vote? Would we like to do a cover letter which says there are 4 of us strongly in favor, 1 against? How do people in the board feel? Anybody have an opinion?
I suppose we could write a cover letter, but this report is pretty self-explanatory as far as I'm concerned.
So we say that we're remitting it.
Well, I think that we ought to have something in there to the fact that, you know, how we support it as a board, at least at this time.
Do we want to take a vote on it and then put the vote in, or are we just going to go with the majority rules?
I'll just say that, I mean, I made my comment on which one I like better, but the fact that we have a report, a lot of work has gone into it, I will support the report also. So I'd rather see this go down to them with a unanimous thing anyway. So, I mean,
Beautiful.
I got my 2 cents in, I'm good. So.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure that we didn't just roll on over you. Okay, then can I have a motion to accept the report and send a cover letter stating that the Board of Selectmen approves of this report and is sending it forward to the state of New Hampshire?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do you have everything you need?
Do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Conservation Commission. They're here to explain a land purchase to the board.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dan Coons. I'm chairman of the Conservation Commission. We became aware of a parcel for sale. I think you hopefully have a tax map of it. It's a 35-acre parcel that runs off of Birch Road and connects over towards the Harriman Hill Affordable Housing Project. The idea with this parcel would be to do a joint project with the affordable housing folks, where initially we were looking at a subdivision where they would take a portion of the land, and we would take a larger portion of the land for conservation. It has since come to our awareness that they need to have the calculation for density purposes of the entire portion. So we're trying to work out exactly how this is going to work to everybody's best interest. And I would guess they'll probably want to come up and talk to this also. But long and short, we had an appraisal done of the property and negotiated a purchase that was considerably under the appraised value. And currently it's under a purchase and sale with a potential closing towards the end of August. Again, it's a little bit up in the air. We're still trying to work out the best way to make this work best for everybody, but thought I would come and answer questions. I do understand that we do need to do a public hearing at some point before this is consummated. So we'll be putting that in the stream. But in the meantime, I guess there's some question as to whether we need your blessing for this project or
That
not,
is what
so.
we're still not 100% sure, because this came into us so late.
Yep.
That we really, as a board, have not had the time to look at it. You know, my understanding was that it's conservation money, and you can expend the conservation money with a public hearing. Paul thinks that the Board of Selectmen have to approve it, and we don't have the RSAs to back all that up. So I'm not quite sure. I think we really need an opinion unless Matt has the answer.
Can I weigh in when you get a chance?
Yeah. So that's kind of where we are. Paul, you have some questions?
Well, I just want to, and thank you, Madam Chairman, for mentioning my name here. We got these documents a few hours ago. I tried to see where what we were supposed to be doing here this evening. So the first thing I did is I went to the bylaws of the Wolfeboro Conservation Commission that were enacted 1/14/08. I tried to go back to the date of the warrant articles, and because it just came here, I just can't hunt and peck that quickly.
Right.
It says in your bylaws, the Wolfeboro Conservation Commission, 5:03, the acquisition or of any interest in real property for conservation purposes, whether by gift or purchase, shall be subject to the approval of the Board of Selectmen, and upon approval shall be received in the name of the town and administered by the commission. I have to believe that this was done by town warrant. Either the town warrant has a typo in it, or this actually is your bylaw. Now, Chairman Murray kindly pointed out to me that a state statute, or the RSA 36A5, says it's in your backyard to figure out what to do. I don't know what the right answer is, but if the people of the town voted that bylaw, then we have to explain to the people of the town why that bylaw no longer works. That would be my question to you. Aside from that, I haven't, I'm sure the public hearing is going to be just full of questions by people who want to know, is there going to be sewer, water, what are you going to do with connections, what do the abutters feel about that? I mean, that's all the stuff that I think you'll find there. But my real question is, who gets the vote on this? And I just don't know the right answer. All I know is what I see your bylaws, not yours, our bylaws say. And it's either a typo or that's what the townspeople voted for.
I think the town voted for the statute, as I recall, not for the bylaws.
I think it would be great. We could just pull them up.
And I'm looking at the RSA, and the question is, and Becky found another section, and I think we need to, before we take any kind of vote, get the information. You did that, I did the RSA in our attempt, and it did come into us late to try, as Paul and I spent some time trying to get some information here at the end of the day today. So what I would propose to the board is, thank you for coming. I don't know if anybody from Harriman Hill wants to come and talk. We really need to get this to know whether you need a vote from us or whether you just need a shake. It's okay, or exactly
Right.
what we need to do.
Yep.
And as I looked at it, it isn't until the 27th. You should be able to still hold your public hearing. We have a meeting on the 15th. You can come back, and if you need a vote for us, we can do that at that time. Does that work for you, Paul?
Works for me.
Does that work for you?
Works for me.
Any other selectmen have any issue with that? Kathy, are you here to talk to us about the workforce housing and kind of give us a better understanding with what we're doing here?
Concerning the bylaws, I don't think those were voted in by warrant article. I think those were adopted by the Conservation Commission.
Whatever was adopted, maybe there's got to be a minute of it or a record of it someplace.
Yep, there would be.
Yeah.
Far enough back.
So, dig it up, take a look at it. Maybe there's a typo. You never know.
We can straighten that out.
We'll figure it out.
Legal advice on that. Kathy?
Hi, Kathy Barnard. When this property was brought to our attention, it does directly abut Harriman Hill, where we do have sewer and water already. And so that was what sparked the Housing Coalition's interest in the property. We've walked it with Dan and some other folks, and there's a sort of a flatter area that does not have wetlands, doesn't have slopes, that could possibly be developed in the future. And we don't have a developer in mind. We are not in a position to do the development, but we certainly thought that it was a positive to go ahead and purchase the land with the idea that probably the majority of it would end up being undeveloped open space, and the area adjacent to Harriman Hill may in the future be developed. So we've talked with Dan, and we'll be talking in the future to try and work out the details. So that's how we entered into this.
Well, thank you, Kathy. That gives us a little bit more idea
Thank
of
you.
what's happening here. Is there any comment from anybody else on the board, or want to question anything else? Okay. So we'll look forward to getting some information and coming back and addressing that on the August 15th meeting if we need to for you, Dan. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business. This is asset management plan. Town manager, do you have any information for us, or is that just a reminder?
We had a demonstration of the program, and Matt was in attendance, Paul was in attendance for a period of time. I was there, Adam Tasker, Scott Pike, Director of Public Works, Dave Ford, and we had the consultant come in and demonstrate how the cloud program works. After that meeting, I was given 3 reports on the buildings that were inventoried. And so I have those reports. We need to reorganize the report by the asset and its retirement date. So I have put that request into the Public Works Director. And then we should be able to provide our own analysis of what the 100-year lifespan is, assign a value to it, and then decide how much money we need to put away in a capital reserve as these expensive items get retired. I will say that it is beneficial in the other asset management reports that we receive that analysis is already done. So when we get that for an asset management plan through DES, water or sewer, that report is all prepared. So the heavy lifting gets done by the consultant. And so we are going back and forth over whether that program is the best program to put buildings in particular.
Okay, does any board members have any question? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Railroad Depot building. Is that a reminder, or do you have something more on that also?
Well, it provided additional information, a copy of the tax card. Was curious if the board had any questions or needed any research. I know one area of concern for the building is the drafty windows and doors. And so we may need to consider some improvements to that space going forward.
I think at the last session, I asked the chamber if they could write up their needs. That should include drafty windows and doors.
Well, I thought we were going to try to get somebody down there of our crew to evaluate the building and see what needed to be done.
I have a very cursory report, basically looking at the bathroom situation, which is not ideal. There definitely will need to be some improvements in that area.
Oh, yeah.
So are we looking at heading for, and this is out to the board, a 2019 warrant article for that facility? In a general thought of trying to move forward on it?
Well, I think it's an ideal opportunity to increase the bathrooms, make them year-round, possibly put 2 stalls in, and it'll be an asset for the downtown merchants and for tourists. And we already have the building, and it would be much cheaper than building something from scratch. And also, I think it's a nice place to have it. Mary, does the chamber want any more space, or do you have all you need? You.
More administrative.
Or executive director at the Wolfeboro Area Chamber of Commerce.
Hi, Mary DeVries, and I apologize if we were expected to put something in writing. I will say that my impression that I was left with after your meeting last week was that there would be a group of people who would meet together and look at the space together, and that would you were kindly including the chamber in that conversation when that takes place. So I wouldn't disagree with any of what I'm hearing, either last week or tonight, about the needs of the building. Our Chamber Board of Directors has also talked about, wow, this is a big change for that building, and what are some potential new uses maybe, or needs for the community. So we're just having those conversations. So I'm not in a position to say what specific needs for our Chamber of Commerce might look like for the future. We just are still talking about it. We have our next board meeting next Thursday morning.
Also, I think the rent you're paying, which I agree with, by the way, is a fraction of what you'd pay if it were on Main Street or something. So you have the opportunity, if you can use the space profitably, for the good of the chamber and everything else, to do it without much extra cost, in my opinion. And now that nobody else is there, you don't have to chew anybody out. Also, maybe you could use half the extra space, not at all. You don't need to use it all.
I guess when I was saying trying to figure out for next year, it seems like we might want to appropriate some money to do some design. I didn't see us doing construction, to get a real handle on, what's going on down there. I think we should sit down with a group of people looking at bathrooms and the chamber space and get some ideas prior to putting out a warrant article for
I think that makes sense. I just think we probably got to get some closure on use. What do we vision the use of the facility to be, and then appropriate some design dollars. I second the idea that the bathroom situation probably could use a freshening up. I was talking with somebody the other day about this notion, and maybe it's not something that people hear a lot about, pop-ups. I don't know if people know what pop-ups are. These are opportunities for someone who can't afford the rent, who wants to, show their business, show their wares, and a space becomes available for a defined period of time. And so I would like us to maybe have a kind of a collegial discussion about use, so that we can keep this place vibrant and tourists and guests can just enjoy the heck out of it.
Madam Chairman, could I speak to that as well? We have experience in that building with that type of business and being very successful and a part of the community. And if the Board of Selectmen would like, I could be report back on behalf of our Chamber Board of Directors after next Thursday's meeting. My own personal opinion is that I feel strongly about anybody involved in the discussions coming together and looking at the building inside and the exterior, the grounds around the building. Our Chamber of Commerce has been a tenant there year-round for a very long time, and we would love that opportunity to offer our experiences there as well.
I think that sounds good, and I'd like to, I'll deal with Paul on terms of the pop-ups. I think that's what the makerspace is about with Gala. It is where somebody could run a business out of there, et cetera, and that's what my understanding of the makerspace is. Somebody who wants to come in and have some tools, make some crafts there. There'd be a place where somebody could have a conference room and could have a meeting there. I thought that was all part of the makerspace in the design. I do believe that we should put a committee together to take a look at that, and I'd like to be on it, and I don't know who else would. I think Kathy Barnard, who was part of the restroom committee, Mary DeVries, and anybody else who might like to, the board, Paul, who would like to take a look at that. Is there anybody?
Let's have a comment when you're ready.
Sure, as a way to deal with it. Brad?
Yeah, I kind of see two things we really need to look at with this building. One is going to be for the long term. We have that extra space there. But we think we have some short-term repairs can be done there regardless of what that extra space gets used for, such as, exterior windows, some, insulation, things like that, fixing up the outside, siding or whatever would need, something like that. I think we could look at it two ways. We could almost take a look at it, that kind of stuff, soon here this summer. We could prepare some kind of a budget for next year to do those kind of repairs while we develop a plan for the long-term use of the rest of the building. So I kind of see two different things we could look at there. One being we could actually finance, for next year, and then obviously years after that for the rest. So.
Dave, you have any comments? No. Dave.
And on my own, I'm going to go in. Mary, you have a key to the back building, don't you? You have access to the whole building, don't you? You have access to the whole building? Well, sometime, Becky, call me and I'll go down there with you or with anybody else, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so are we comfortable establishing a committee tonight? And looking on that committee is Mary DeVries, Linda Murray, Paul O'Brien, Kathy Barnard, and is there anybody else who should be on there? Becky, would you be the staff person?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it appropriate for me to ask?
going.
Cindy Melanson is volunteer president of our Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and I guess I'm speaking for her tonight that she would like to be a part of that discussion.
Okay. That sounds good. Anybody else have any other names and suggestions, either from the audience or from the table?
If you're down there.
Okay, can I have a motion to establish an ad hoc railroad station committee with Cindy Melanson, Mary DeVries, Linda Murray, Paul O'Brien, Kathy Barnard, and staff person Becky, or somebody she chooses to send?
Thank you.
So move.
Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we've taken care of that. Next item on the agenda is other business, and I have some other business. I'm going to hand out to the board an email that I sent to Dave Ford to get some information. There has been some conversations and concerns from people exactly what work is on warrant articles, let's say for Foss Field or some road projects. how much is being done by the town, how much is being done by the contractors. So I sent this out to Dave Ford, and I was talking about our town roads, and I will read his answer. I was trying to find out who managed it, who engineered it, who did the work, and what part of the work. And I said, I'm assuming that the town is the manager and the engineer, and he said that is correct. And Dave Ford said, I view the road and drainage with Scott and Doug Lemery. Based on these meetings, we develop a plan and a budget. The town usually installs the catch basins and drain pipes. We contract out in gravel, reclaiming, and paving. And then I asked about the upgrades at Railroad Avenue and Depot Street, and I'm back to the same question, who managed, who engineered, and who did the work? And he responded with this: these two projects were design-build, with town staff providing the design and all the digging work, contracted out, reclaim, grade, and paving. The area around the railroad station, boat launch, and Bee Park engineering was done by Underwood engineers. The town did the drainage work. Mass Landing, same question. Mass Landing was engineered by Comprehensive Environmental Inc. We appropriated $30,000 for the design in 2016 and $170,000 for construction. This project was bid out and was completed by Integrity Earthwork. I looked at the sidewalks in front of Hunter's IGA, which I think made a big change. So I don't think it's the IGA anymore. Into the look of that area, we had the sidewalk was engineered by Santex. Project went out to bid. Price exceeded the budget. So town staff, led by Scott Pike, constructed the sidewalk, drainage, and made fill modification to make it work. I asked a question about the 2010 building assessment, and they hired AG Architects to design and develop bid specs. The project was bid out and construction by GC. We had some issues with both the architect and GC completed revolving many of the ADA issues. And then this next one, and you can cross out the first word that says dockside, is talking about the Foss Field building. Foss Field was planned by Park and Rec with a concept designed by Vaughn Dogan. We contracted with Bergeron Technical Services to develop a construction drawings and specifications. The budget was set at $300,000. However, the initial request for pricing from construction managers was in excess of $400,000. The public work acted as a general contractor, self-performed a lot of the work, subcontracted electric, plumbing, carpentry, concrete, foundation. And he gave us a special breakout on that. I'm going to sneeze. The reason I am bringing this up is we have the Dockside Restaurant, and it was Bergeron Technical Services developed the plan. We are planning on being the general contractor, that's Public Works, using the same method as we did at Foss Field. We will self-perform some work and sub out the rest of the work. And I just wanted to get a concession from the board that we're okay to move forward with the Dockside Restaurant restrooms under that that kind of a structure. And is everybody here on the board okay with that? Anybody have any issue with that? Okay. One of the issues I think is coming up is how much time we use our public works and how much time we use subcontractor or contractor. And when we were looking at the Abenaki Lodge, the first draft of that lodge, we thought about maybe doing it with the VOCED Technical School to do the build. When we went to the budget committee requested that we not use them, that we use subcontractors in town, because they needed the work. So that's kind of where we have gone on this. So if there's no other questions and nobody has any issue with it, I'm assuming we're okay going forward with that project as planned.
I think the only question I would have was, I'm not sure how stretched out the Public Works Department is getting here. I mean, they got a few projects they're doing right now. I believe a couple weeks ago anyway, they were still up on Charting Track Road installing drainage up there, getting ready for that project. I'm not sure they've made it up to, what's the road where your sister lives? Keewaydon Road, thank you. If they've gotten up there yet to do the drainage work there, that's under contract to be done this year also. So they still have to do all that, then, go down and start another project for these bathrooms too and stuff with running utilities in. Probably conversation, maybe Beck should have a conversation with him, making sure that he could fit this all into everything else that they have to do there, because they also have to maintain all our roads and everything in the meantime. If we get storms, clean out drains and whatever, comes from these storms. So that was just the only question I would have about that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I'm bringing it up, because I think there has been some questions. Paul?
I'm with Brad, and I have no way of quantifying whether the concerns are justified or not. What I hear are words that talk about managing crisis, and what I see in some of our reports is that, for weather and other reasons, things kind of move forward, they move out. So those things, I don't know what the narrative is of that. What I hear at our budget committee, and I'm working with them, hopefully to clearly understand their issues, is projects, and Mr. Owen actually clarified it on May 7th at the Budget Committee. Projects that go for warrant articles, the capital side of the project is funded by the taxpayer per the warrant article. The labor, unless it's a fully outsourced project, the labor is provided by the town for certain things like drainage and other things. And I think the Budget Committee's got a little angst about that, which kind of builds into this, kind of the concern people have. I just think we need to separate all of these things, as you're trying to do, Linda, and kind of put them on the table so that when we sit down and we do budgets, we know whether we have enough capacity to do the things we want to get done or not. And if we don't, then we slow down. I think that's the right path to be on.
I guess I turn around and I also look at how that warrant article passed and the work that the bathroom committee did, and this one got 86.5% approval, which tells me the public really would like to see those restrooms.
I agree.
I think when we did it, and this is, I think we overpromised. We thought they were going to be done by the spring. It's not. Yeah. And to me, I would like to see us put every effort to get this project up and running and have it ready for next year, because I think it's needed. I think going forward, we can have the discussion and take a look at the quantity of work that we're asking out of our Public Works Department and make sure it's reasonable as we put these warrant articles together. And that's kind of, well, I brought this up, but if the board was still feeling uncomfortable moving forward with this project, we needed to address it tonight. So if people are comfortable moving forward, and it is, and Becky and I have been talking, this is not a special warrant article, so if we don't at least get some kind of contract and do some work on it this year, the appropriation will elapse. And I'd like to get this thing going. We've got the approval.
There's not a lot of call for those bathrooms in the middle of October or December, and so getting it done now and getting it ready for next year is probably smarter than pajamas, right? It's the right thing to do.
That's where I am. Does anybody have any other comment on this? So we're comfortable, we're going to go through. Okay, thank you on that one. We are now going to talk about committee reports. And I'll start down this time with Dave Bowers.
No report.
Okay. I went to the Infrastructure and Transportation chapter, nicely led by Brad Harriman. He joined, well, he led it. And then I went this morning to the Community Facilities Master Plan chapter meeting. And I went to a Milfoil Committee meeting, and let's keep our fingers crossed. We're hoping that they will show up tomorrow. We have had just a horrible time getting our contractor here. We are very disappointed with our contractor, and we have let DES know that we are. So we're hoping that they will show up. They were supposed to show up today, but they're supposed to show up tomorrow. For Kathy, at least 2 days? 2 days. We're hoping for a lot more, so that's on its way. Brad?
Yeah, as you pointed out, last night we had the master plan committee meeting for the transportation and infrastructure. Thanks a lot of work by Matt over here. He puts a lot of effort into all those. Yesterday morning we also had a Wolfeboro Community TV board meeting, and I believe we're still on schedule for a Libby Museum Building Committee meeting tomorrow evening.
Yes.
And just get that committee up and running and see how that feasibility study is coming, and get that going. So that's it for me.
Dave?
Well, I had 2 meetings with the unions this week with Debbie and Becky. I thought they went very well. They were very civil. And I think that we I think we went quite a ways for those 2 meetings very quickly. So I don't expect, from my perspective, that the union thing will go on for a long time like it has in the past.
Good, that's nice to hear. Paul?
I went, although this is not official town business, I went to the Farmers Table dinner the other night at the Pickering House, and it was really great. It's just absolutely a gorgeous place. Back to town business, I spent some time with our library folks, and I think you were there too. We were talking about the solar, potential solar installation, and a couple of other topics and Becky was in that conversation. They thought that was pretty good. We firmed up our meeting that we're going to have with the town of Sterling, Massachusetts for energy. That'll be October 4th. The Energy Committee is going to go down. And I think our town planner and Barry May, depending upon status of his projects, he's engaged in that. And I as well attended Mr. Harriman's infrastructure meeting, well done, well-mannered, and that's all I have.
Okay, I'm going to just do, before I do the town manager's report, do a couple of dates. And I want to remind the board that we're going to the Tufton Borough Planning Board on August 16th at 7 o'clock, and we're going there for a boundary line adjustment. And I also want to again announce the Planning Board's public forum. That will take place on August 21st at 6:30 here in the Town Hall Great Hall, and we're hoping for a huge turnout. And with that, I'll turn it over to our town manager for her report.
With back-to-back selectmen's meetings, I apologize, I don't have anything in written form for you. I joined the Walking Wounded Club in the last week, and so I am wearing a boot on my foot for a broken toe, and we'll need to have that attended to shortly.
Do you had said last time you were putting your town manager's report up on the town website. Can you tell me how we get to it?
I know. I understand that Anne may not have gotten to that yet, so I will provide a link as soon as I find out where they are.
Okay. Good. And then we'll announce that to the public, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the press? Okay. Public input, 3 minutes per person, not to exceed 15 minutes in total. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to give us any public input? Seeing none, I need a motion to go into non-public session for personnel and litigation. I got a so moved from Dave Bowers, a second from Paul. Paul, yes?
Yes.
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 Word. Thank you all.
Thank you all.